Hello and welcome to Step It Up. My name is Shalece and I'm a compulsive eater and food addict in Phoenix, Arizona. And Lulu and I are excited to share our experience, strength, and hope in working the 12 steps as they are laid out in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. This meeting is held on the second Tuesday of each month. We will cover one step per month and there will be a question and answer section at the end of each meeting. Now this, I believe today is the first Tuesday in November. We had a little divergence from our schedule, but that's okay. We're getting back on track here and we're going to cover step 4 today. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Lulu to share her experience about step 4.
Hello, my name is Lulu. I'm from Boston, Massachusetts, and I have taken a 4th step myself. I've written a 4th step myself, and I have directed others through a 4th step many times, and I've seen miracles happen before my eyes, and it's a very important part of recovery. You can put the food down, you can admit you're powerless over food, that your life is unmanageable, and then you can get abstinent and then rely on your fellows and your friendships in OA for people to help you with your unmanageability, and you call people and you ask them for some, advice on things, and people have great advice, and it's very helpful. Then you take step 2 and you come to believe that the powers greater than yourself can restore you to sanity, and that is like I either came to believe or I'm willing to believe. So that's something that needs nurturing and work, and that my life is I need to be restored to sanity, which means I'm lying to myself a lot, because I consider insanity to be just thoughts that are not in proportion to reality. And a lot of people in program can help me do that. It can help me see the truth in things. And then in step 3, I make a decision to turn my will and life over to the care of God as I understand God. Now what do? If I'm going to keep relying on, human beings to always have the answers for me, they don't even know me, because I'm different than everybody. Everybody's different from everybody. So this is the way we come to understand who we are and how we tick. Like it says on page 64, a business which takes no regular inventory usually goes broke. Taking a commercial inventory is a fact-finding and a fact-facing process. It's an effort to discover the truth about the stock in trade. One object is to disclose damaged and unsaleable goods, get rid of them promptly without regret. If an owner of a business is going to be successful, he cannot fool himself about values. We did the exact same thing with our lives, it says. We took stock honestly. So if I have a business and I have, things on the shelf that just are not selling, and I'm going to fool myself to think that they're still serving me, they can still stay there, and one day somebody might buy them. Like, I need to get real. I need to find the facts, and I need to face the facts. So this is what we do with our own lives, and this is how what we can discover about ourselves that we can't see. It's in our chemistry. It's in our brain. It's the thoughts that are not in proportion to the reality. It's the unmanageability. Like, why can't I manage? Why am I fat? Why am I overeating? Why am I struggling with abstinence? Everything is I can tell you all the answers to those questions about myself, but it doesn't mean that it translates 100% for each of us, because we all have different experiences from the day I was born on this earth till almost 62 years later, which is now. I've had all my experiences and teachers and lessons and experiences that have brought me to who I am today and how I tick. And we're all unique in that way, which is really awesome. I always thought everybody had to think like me, and then this whole world would be pretty fabulous, until my sponsor said, can you just imagine if everybody you ever met was just like you and talked like you and acted like you and agreed with you? And I was just like, ew, Oh my goodness, that would be awful. And it would be boring. What would we even talk about if we just were all the same? So this was very important for me, that it helped me see that you get to be you and I get to be me. I don't have to understand you. You don't have to understand me, because what's all about you is between you and God. What's all about me is between me and God, and we can just experience and um, um, enjoy each other for who we are and what we are. And so this is what the fourth step, in my experience, the way that I was brought through it, the way that I wrote my inventory, it illuminated to me some really, really useful information about me. It wasn't the most pleasant discoveries, but it was information that I needed to know about myself in order to change. I don't even know what to change, right? So if somebody told me these things that came up in my writing about me, I would probably be insulted, and I would probably just say, screw you. But it was in my handwriting. It was written by me, to me, for me, so that I could have information about myself. I heard this question once, is there something I'm ready to know that I have? Oh goodness, what does it say? Is there something I'm ready to know that I need to know? Is there something I'm ready to know that I need to know? So I wasn't sure I was ready, but I held on to my socks and went for the ride. And I'm going to give the floor over to Shalece for her opening.
Thank you, Lulu. Yeah, I love the paragraph right after you take the third step. It says, next, we launched out on a vigorous course of action. So you take this step of a decision to turn your life and your will over to the care of God, and then immediately we put our running shoes on. We get ready, because this is where the real change happens. Up to this point, I learned that my reaction to life was food. How funny is that? My reaction to emotions was food. Like, it's kind of like going out to your car, seeing that you have a flat tire and trying to fill it up with gas. Or, I'm using the wrong thing to solve the puzzle, and it just doesn't work. And so all of the previous work that we've done, steps 1, 2, and 3, have gotten me to understand what the problem is and understand what the solution is. And so now we're getting to the solution, and that's what step 4 gets us into, like launching into the work. And this is, for me, step 4 was absolutely was and is life-changing for me. This is where I grow towards God. So I just wanted to use a little visual here, and people that are listening to this won't be able to see it, but I will describe it to you. I'm going to share a photo. And last week, I had the privilege of listening to an OA member share her experience about the steps. And she shared this. Okay, so on the right, we have a bucket, and it has a toilet seat over it. It's a camping toilet, okay? And then we have a very small bucket on the left side. So we're going to just use this analogy. Step 4 is where we sift through all of the crap in our lives, okay? Like, it's a big bucket. It's where we write down all of our resentments, and the resentments are what cause us to go and eat. So this process of writing them down, going through them with a sponsor during step 5, is a process of cleaning house. And then when we get through 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, then we go to step 10, which is this little bucket, and we just it's like maintenance. It's like daily maintenance. I just love that. I love that little analogy. It's like, this is where we're going to just get to the yucky stuff. We're going to roll up our sleeves and look at our lives. And because I'm abstinent and I'm open to a higher power, I have the clarity to be able to look at this stuff. Okay, if I'm in the food, if I'm still eating, if I'm still binging, I am not going to have the clarity to see this stuff. So it's very important that the steps are done in order. They're laid out perfectly, just for just the right reasons. So again, as we share our experiences on step 4, and as you are ready to take step 4 yourself, put your running shoes on, because you're in for a ride. And for me, I had to work it like my pants were on fire, because I just want to keep up the momentum and get to the solution. And the solution is truth. I've lived with a lot of lies, and I've created a lot of crap, which I thought other people, which I thought was, other people were doing this to me, or they did this, or I did, if they didn't do this, then I wouldn't have done this. And the 4th step really helps me to clear things up and clean things up. So with that, I will pass it back over to Lulu.
Hi, that was beautiful. What an analogy that was. The big toilet bowl. There you go. It was perfect. Oh my goodness. Anyway, so I'd like to describe the 4th step process, just kind of in a nutshell. I have 10 minutes, and I'll speak about the 4th step in a nutshell. And then we will do several individual recordings on all the different parts. So if I talk about making a list, we're going to do a recording on making your list. When I talk about the causes, the effects, the selfish part, all the different parts that I talk about, we're going to have recordings on each one. You could actually write a 4th step by following these. They'll be on the blog in the order. And then you just would need, at the end of writing it, you would need somebody to do your 5th step with. I'm available to if you want to write your 4th step through this blog, these recordings, and you want assistance, and you want somebody to do your 5th step, I would be happy to help, or I could probably find somebody to help. It doesn't have, like, if you have a food sponsor, you haven't quite found a step sponsor, you should always have a sponsor. Like, yeah, you don't like just do this instead of a sponsor. You can have a sponsor, but if you have a sponsor that's working with you with the food, and it's sometimes it's not easy to find somebody with this, more people that need sponsors than there are sponsors. So that's kind of the purpose of this blog spot. So the first thing we do is we make a list, like it says in the bottom of page 64. In dealing with resentments, we set them on paper. We listed people, institutions, or principles with whom we were angry. We asked ourselves why we were angry. And it was pointed out to me, like, a resentment is, the word resent is the word scent is from the word sentiment, which is a feeling. Re-feel. So it's things that I re-feel. It doesn't have to, it's not necessarily things that make you angry. It could be just things that make you frustrated, that make you discontent. It doesn't have to just be anger, although that's how it usually turns out. So we write down people, institutions, and principles. I call them people, places, and things. It's people, places, and things. People that piss me off, places that piss me off, things that piss me off, or frustrate me, or make me irritated, or make me feel restless, or whatever it is. It's just re-feeling. And then the next part of the writing is the cause. Why does this person, place, a thing get me tripped up? What are the reasons why? The examples are on page 65. It shows you why, and then how it affects my. We're going to do a recording on the list, on the cause, on the effects my. How you determine how it affects. We have all kinds of little cheat sheet tools to help to guide you through that writing. And then the next part of the writing is it's described over on page 67, where it says, referring to our list again, putting out of our minds the wrongs others had done. We resolutely look for our own mistakes. So where had we been? Selfish, dishonest, self-seeking, and frightened. So the selfish writing, which we'll do a whole recording on, is I need you to do this so that I fill in the blank. I need you to stop doing this so that I don't feel bad. I need you to do this because it's only fair that you do. It's like, what do you need to do or stop doing? What needs to change in order for me to be okay? And what the heck is wrong with me? Okay. And then the dishonesty is it almost seems like, what are we, a bunch of liars? But we're not really a bunch of liars, although maybe we are. That might come up in your writing. But basically, the dishonesty part of the writing is, what are the lies I'm telling myself? The lies I'm telling myself is that you need to stop doing that so that I'll be happy. When the truth might be, you don't need to stop doing that because that's just what you do, because you get to be you. And I'm not going to be happy if you stop doing that because there's somebody else that's pissing me off. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, let's just see the patterns of the lies that we tell ourselves. And then the self-seeking, those are the things that I do to make myself feel better when I'm resenting you. What am I doing? I might be blaming you. I might be defending myself. I might be judging you. I might be gossiping about you. I might be yelling at you. I might be hitting you. I might be, there's a list that goes on and on. It's all these things that we do to make ourselves feel better as we're experiencing this. And frightened, where have I been frightened? I remember saying to my sponsor, I'm not afraid of anything. And she's like, oh yeah, you think so? You think not, Lulu? She had spent enough time with me to know that I was riddled with fear. I had the fear of not having control, the fear of losing control, the fear of not being good enough, the fear of other people's opinions, the fear of losing what I have, the fear of not getting what I want, the fear of not getting what I need. They just go on and on. So what am I afraid of here? Is it because I don't have control? Because I want you to stop doing something that I think you should stop doing, and you won't stop doing it, and I don't have control, and I think I should, and because I need you to do that because I'm afraid I'm going to lose what I have, because I need you to do that because it will make me make more money, and then I won't lose my house, and then I won't. It's like, what am I afraid? Am I afraid of losing something? Am I afraid of, not having what I need? Like, what's going to happen? Like, what's going to happen? Where is the fear originate from? So, once we have all this, that's basically the 4th step inventory. It's gentle. It gives us an opportunity to say, yeah, you do this and it makes me feel this way. And I want you to stop doing it. And this is why. And something, totally, you could totally be justified. Maybe most of the people would agree, yeah, that person should stop doing it, especially if it's somebody like lying. I remember one that I had was like, you don't lie to me. You lying to me. What's up with that? And, but something, at the end of it all, when I was feeling so angry that somebody lied to me, and I uncovered my selfishness. I need you to not lie to me because I need to feel that respect, because that's disrespectful to lie to somebody, Don't you lie to me, And where was I dishonest? I was telling myself that person shouldn't lie. But guess what? Newsflash, liars lie. So if the person is a liar and they're going to lie, so they didn't lie to me, if I take the to me off, then they just lie. It's less personal. It's like, they're going to lie. And then I can just feel so grateful that I don't lie. Like I don't have that compulsion to lie to people. How grateful am I for that? You know, this is the way we call them, the turnarounds. We find this information about ourselves, how we are selfish, what's the lies I'm telling myself, what am I doing to make myself feel better as these people are pissing me off, and what am I afraid of? And guess what? You sit down, you write this out. That's about as gentle as it is. And then when you do your 5th step with your sponsor, you're just going to get so sick of hearing yourself. It's the same stuff. It's the same stuff because it's, you know what's in common with everybody on your list, whether it's 30 things or 50 things or 75 things, people, places, and things. There's one common denominator, and that would be you. In my writing, the common denominator was me, and every disturbance in my life, I was a part of all of this. So it's kind of like, what am I doing here? What am I expecting here? What the lies I'm telling myself with everybody I meet? Like I'm just lying to myself, like, you need to give me compliments. You need to do this. Let's talk about this one behind the back, and all this kind of stuff. I need that for what? A lot of it is the self-esteem and ego, which Bill Wilson talks a lot about. And anyway, so like I said, we're going to, that was just the nutshell instructions, description of what a 4th step writing looks like. It needs to be kind of structured, and there's specific instructions for each one to make it easier for you to come up with the information to write in here. It's like there's just really helpful tools to help you, jar your memory, or to give you things to think about, like, is this what I was doing? Is this what I was feeling? It's just like little general examples. And then we're going to just totally talk about each one for the next 4 Tuesdays. We're going to be making, and they'll all be, short, maybe 10, 15-minute videos in the order in which it should be on the paper, and then you'd be ready for your 5th step. So that's what I have on the 4th step. Shalece?
Thank you, Lulu. Okay, so just to go back and talk a little bit more about resentment and how it plays into the disease. So coming in, again, I really believed that food was a problem, diet was a solution, and then that, I didn't believe that anymore when I was presented with all of the information that I needed, that physical allergy and a mental twist. And I was screwed basically on my own until I came to step 2 and step 3, when I was like, okay, there is a power greater than me that can restore me to sanity. Okay, so I am insane. My thinking is not in line with reality. And getting onto a food plan, getting abstinent was absolutely essential. Like I say, there's no way I could do this work if I was foggy and cloudy. And anyone who's abstinent can relate to this. You go through maybe a week without the substances, flour, sugar, artificial sweetener, volume, those things, and all of a sudden the cloud lifts, and it's like, oh my gosh, like I just feel on top of the world, right? I'm just like, I just feel so good. But it's not enough, because the food plan, the physical allergy, yes, that is managed now with a food plan. It's manageable now. But then we have the mental twist, okay? And that is the crux of our problem, is the mental part. Because I could probably stay abstinent for a good long period of time and be okay. on a food plan, but if I'm not taking care of business, if I'm not taking this inventory, doing this inventory, taking an inventory, getting my thinking in line with reality, I think one of two things will happen. I'll either stay sober and still be a mess and a tornado roaring my way through the lives of others, or I'll go back to the food. Those are pretty much kind of the options that we've got there, because just being on a food plan, just being sober is not recovery. That's sobriety and recovery are not the same thing. So how do we get to recovery? So if you're abstinent, you are sober. You are sober. How do you transition from sobriety to recovery? Step 4, step 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So that is where we get down to business of looking at the mental twist. And the mental twist, oh my gosh, it's so subtle, and it's so funny. I shared an experience on one of the recordings where I had an emotion. There was an uncomfortable exchange. It wasn't even between me. It was between someone else. And I felt uncomfortable and I wanted to numb it up with food. And so like, even just subtle things like that, like the mental twist is like, the food will numb it up. It'll make it feel better. It'll make me feel better. So the mental twist, it can be, it's a subtle foe. But resentment is the number one offender. Resentment, those feelings, those emotions. In Harlan, in some of Harlan's podcasts, that we also share on the blog, he tells us that normal human emotions are what trigger the mental twist. So normal human emotions that I don't know what to do with, these emotions are rising in me. I have interactions with people, or I see things and they make me angry or upset, and I just don't know what to do with them. So this is where I learn what to do with them and how to manage that mental twist. So the process is, as Lulu described, and we'll be sharing lots and lots of information about what we do, how we do it, when we do it, because again, it's in order. It's all in order to be able to see what we need to see. It's kind of like just taking the glasses that you have on, that you've been seeing the world through, and just wiping them off or trading them out for different glasses, because I've seen the world through upside down and backward thinking. It's not, it hasn't been accurate, but I wouldn't be able to see that unless I go through this fact-finding process. And then I see who I've been. I see who I thought other people were, and I'm totally wrong about it. My thoughts have been totally inaccurate about them. And my thoughts have been totally inaccurate about me. And so it's just kind of a leveling and very humbling process to get to work on this mental twist. And again, this is a disease. This is a terminal disease. This is not something that is cured. It's going to be with me through my life. And, the food plan part, the diet part is like the easiest part for me. The food plan, once I've got that in place and I know what I'm doing and I've got that managed, then it is manageable. But that the mental twist will be something that I'll be managing my food for the rest of my life, but I'll also be managing the mental twist. And it takes time, and it takes effort, and it takes focus, and it takes refocus. But it's so worth it. It's so worth it, because the world is a lot more pleasant when I am recovered, when I am recovering, because I see things accurately. And again, I could look for an easier, softer way. I think we talk about that in reference sometimes to like the food plan or sobriety itself. But even with dealing with emotions, I might look for an easier, softer way, again, to avoid the emotions or feel them, or cover them up with something else. But the easier, softer way really is this work. It really is just writing it on paper, discussing it with my sponsor, and being able to see it with new eyes. And then, it's like freedom. It's again, like the cloud lifts, just like when I became sober or abstinent, that cloud lifts instantly when I do this work. It gives me the same, like Harlan says, it gives me the same effect that the food gave me, but without the devastating side effects. And it's just such a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful process. Not easy by any means, but so worth it. So worth it. So that's what I've got to share on step 4. Do we want to go ahead and open it up for questions? Or Lulu, did you have anything else you wanted to add to that before we move on? We've got a few minutes.
I'll add a few things. Like there's a saying in AA, when you take the alcohol out of the fruitcake, you still have a fruitcake, right? So just, getting sober does not mean well. Sober is not well. Sober is better than drunk. Abstinent is better than binging. But if you're like white knuckling your abstinence because you're still a fruitcake, because you got mixed up ideas, like Bill Wilson says, it was the old ideas and the old attitudes that had to get chucked, right? I have written on this page, I'm allergic to people that don't think and act like me. I break out in frustration, judgment, impatience, and intolerance. So you see, I still have an allergy. I'm allergic to people that don't do and act like me. I just wanted to tell like a quick analogy of something. This happened to me and I was like, oh, this is a good little example of how the 4th step works. So I bought this new electric toothbrush and you put it on the charger and then you charge it. And then, so anyway, I was like, oh, well, ain't I fancy with a new electric toothbrush, right? But they had the water pick and everything. So the first time I go to brush my teeth with it, I start brushing, and after a little while, it like shut off, and then it turned back on. And I was like, oh, I thought it was just going to break. So I just kept doing it, and then it just like stopped again, and then it started again, and I'm just like, what the hell's going on here? What a hunk of junk, right? So I'm like aggravated that this thing keeps stopping and starting. Like, what do you do? What is like, don't they make anything good? Where was this made in China? I'm just like, I'm going through all this stuff in my head thinking like, these electronics, the junk, I paid a lot of money for this and it's going back. And so I don't know what inspired me to like read the directions, but in reading the directions, I discovered that they give you a wonderful little feature that every 15 seconds, it pauses. So it tells you to spend 15 seconds on this quad. It's going to pause. That means it's 15 seconds is up, so I don't have to time it. And then you can move over to this quad. And then after 50, you go up here and then up there. And then you've done a full 2 minutes and it's equally divided. I was like, well, isn't that nice? Right? So it made me wonder. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? Like, what is going on with people, places, and things in this world that are there for your benefit, but you can't see through the glasses that Shalece just talked about that need to be wiped. And you just need to know the truth. You need to get out the directions, not the directions on the toothbrush, but you need to get the directions for a new design for living. That's what Bill Wilson outlines in this big book, that you will get a new design for living. So that's kind of like, you'll have a new instruction booklet. So the little things like that you don't even know won't piss you off, So when that happened to me, of course, I had a good laugh for myself. I was probably in post recovery, step work, probably maybe 2 years. So it was a few years ago, but it just like hit me. I was just like, oh yeah, there you go. Right. So anyway, so does anybody have any questions at all?
We'll go ahead and have them post the questions in the chat section. And I just wanted to say the toothbrush thing, that's just so awesome. Like the instructions. And I feel like the 4th step, all the steps are just such a great directions for living. Like you said, just
Yep.
follow the
And
directions,
and
follow
you
the
and
directions.
and you don't have to worry about how intelligent you need to be. This is not an intellectual matter. It is not. It's not like this, you're writing a thesis on life and you're going to be graded. Okay. It's so simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. You can write it. I can write it. Anybody can write it. And even though it might look like confusing, and that's what a sponsor's for, you just bring it full circle, bring everything together so that you have this new design for living. And it kind of gets like, it's kind of like something that gets like branded in your head after a while, you know, and then you just, like it says in the big book, we find that these things have happened automatically. Same with the food. You know, it's like, yeah, I mean, how is it that I don't want to overeat anymore? How is it that I'm not eating those candy bars that are left over? Like, how is that even happening without any effort on my part? It just comes. That's what it says in the big book under the promises. And it just comes, you know? And you know, I also have a little quote here that I find interesting. Serenity is what we get when we stop hoping for a better past. I mean, how much time are we going to spend hoping for a better past? It's like, we don't need to fix our childhood. We need to fix our adulthood. You know,
We need to be able to see our childhood with truth.
We got to kind of stop living back there, and we got to bring it to today and know that we're okay and we're in God's hands.
Exactly.
Does somebody have a question?
I'm looking at Bonnie's, let's see here. Yes, Bonnie, step 4 is the basis for step 10. So basically step 10 is steps 4 through 9. So, and you're welcome to drop another question on that.
Yeah, so basically, like Shalece said, step 4 is the big bucket with the toilet seat on. It's full of shit. Oh shit! I wasn't gonna say shit on these recordings. Did it again. Damn. Oh, I wasn't gonna say damn either. So that's like the big life. Like, this is my first shot now of like, I got to clean up, because basically my pipeline to God is blocked with this crap. It's blocked. Like, I just can't utilize God the way that I want to and need to when I'm just blocked up with this crap in my head. So step 4 is the big overhaul that takes care of life. Step 10 is the exact same process, 4 through 9, but we're doing it on moments. We're not doing it on moments. Like, as soon as something creeps up, take care of it. Like, why wouldn't you? If you have the tools and the skills now, and you know better, when we know better, we do better. Like, why wouldn't you? Why would you want to get it all muckied up again? You know?
Okay, so follow-up question. I'm just trying to pull it up here. Okay, so I often have difficulty identifying whether my person, place, or thing is a resentment, fear, or a harm. Can you talk about this?
It's that re-feeling. Yeah. It's that re-feeling. That scent comes from the word sentiment. So it's a feeling, something that I'm re-feeling. It not necessarily anger, although most of the time it is, because it doesn't take look at how angry I was at my toothbrush, you know. That was a step 10. No, it would have been a step 10. It would have been a step 10 if I didn't read the directions and realize I was wrong again.
Well, and the writing will help you identify. The writing actually will help you identify. So any emotion that arises that would be quote unquote negative, like fear, anxiety, resentment, or irritation, anger, worry, any of those things can be written down, and it's all resentment. So a fear would be a resentment. A harm, if you're talking like a harm to me, or have I harmed another person, again, that'll all come out in the writing. So it's a matter of really just putting it in the form, following the directions of the order that it goes in. And sometimes for me, sometimes I'm like, okay, something's really bothering me, but I can't put my finger on it. I'm not even sure how to put it on a 10th step yet. And something that's been really helpful for me is to just write out like a journal entry. I'm feeling this way. I'm feeling this. I'm feeling this. And then I'll be like, oh, whoa, resentment, resentment. Oh, irritated towards them. Oh, okay. So sometimes even just putting a preliminary thought on paper so that I can even look at what needs to go on my resentment. Sometimes it's like, I can't put my finger on it. I'm just angry right now. I'm just irritated. But sometimes doing that will help me to be able to just pick out the resentment right away and then do a 10th step on it.
I don't know what you mean by trying to find the box. I don't know if you are you doing the those forms with the boxes that you check, because I don't know anything about those. I know they exist, but that is a way to do the step work. I'm not going to anyway. You can do it through the OA 12 and 12. You can do it with on those charts that are online. You can do it in an AWOL. They have these things called AWOLs. They're OA groups that are, I think it's an AA too, and AWOL stands for a way of life, and they do step work in groups. One second, I'm just reading the question. What box? Oh. I'm sorry. I was just I was pausing because I was reading the questions.
Reading, yep. No problem.
I was talking about what was I talking about?
Let's see.
What was I just saying? Oh, about the different ways to do the steps.
Yes. Yes.
The only way that the way that we are going to present it on this blog spot is going to be from the big book, exactly how it's outlined in the big book, because that's the way I was brought through it. So I only have what I've experienced, As far as deciding what, is it fear writing? Is it resentment writing? It's a 10th step, a 4 through 9, whether you're doing it on a fear. This is post, I'm assuming that you've already done your step work. Are you on the other side? If you're on the other side of your step work and you're doing step 10s, if you're doing a step 4, then there's a resentment inventory, there's a fear inventory, and there's a sex inventory. There's 3 inventories. So that's why we're going to have a lot of recordings to do, because once we finish the ones that I just described earlier, the cause, the effects, the selfish, self-seeking, dishonest, afraid, and then we're going to go on to fear inventory, and we'll go on to sex inventory. And then we'll talk about sex ideals, and, then we'll end up in step 6 and 7. Yeah. Anyway, I would say, as far as what belongs, maybe ask your sponsor. I'm not really sure exactly how they're bringing you through it. Will we be posting a 10th step template outline? The 10th step for me is just steps 4 through 9. So you just do a step 4, and then what I do when I need to do a step 10 is I write what I'm resenting. I write it all out. I email it to my sponsor, and I say, let me know when you get some time to talk about it. And then we get on a session and talk about it. And then I see even more clear where I've been selfish, self-seeking, dishonest, and afraid. And I can see my 6 and 7. I can see what character defects came up again. And then I could see if I harmed anybody. Is there a step 8 list here? Did I harm anybody or not? Do I need to make an amends or not? And then pray my butt off to just move on from that, and to understand it more, and to stop lying to myself about what people need to do.
Yes, and so we will have, I say, detailed instructions on how to write out a 4th step. We don't really use a template. but there will be instructions. And I do have a 10th step kind of instructions, just a short form of all of the 4th step instructions that I do share with my sponsees in order to do a 10th step. And that's something that we could share on the blog. But you'll have everything that you need to be able to work through a 4th step, which is then usable in the exact same way as a 10th step. Yes, 10th step when we get there. We're not there yet. So
Yeah, we're not there yet. Exactly.
exactly.
But how long does it take to go through a step 4? Well, that all depends on you. You know, if, you know, are your pants on fire? Do you want to finish writing? Then you'll write and write. If you're too busy and you're putting other things first, or maybe somebody that has, you know, 4 kids and a dog and a full-time job, it might take them longer than somebody that's retired that wants to write. Maybe somebody that's afraid of writing and procrastinates. They're just never moving. They're just moving at a snail's pace because they're lying to themselves, telling themselves that, like, oh, I'm going to feel terrible when I write that, instead of thinking about the gift at the end of it. Generally, what my experience is somebody that right when I begin sponsoring somebody, right from step 1 to step 12, it's typically like a 10-month process. That's my experience. And, you know, I do, like, people that get stalled in their writing, you know, I do say, like, you know, it's your recovery. It's not mine. You know, but, you know, also I aggressively encourage.
Again, this is what recovery is. This is where the recovery comes.
Yes.
And this is where the real relief can come if you follow the instructions.
Do you have to write everything? What if it's really, really bad? Well,
love it. Love the question.
Let's talk about the very first page of how it works in the big book, where it says, it's on page 58. Rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. So if you didn't write everything, it wouldn't be thorough. Those who do not recover are people who cannot or will not completely give themselves to the simple program, usually men and women who are constitutionally incapable of being honest with themselves. There's honest number 1. There are such unfortunates. They are not at fault. They seem to have been born that way. They are naturally incapable of grasping and developing a manner of living which demands rigorous honesty. There's honesty number 2. It's kind of like, how about if we be honest, right? Their chances are less than average. There are those too who suffer from grave emotional and mental disorders. I work with people that have some mental issues, diagnosed mental issues. But it says there are some people that suffer from grave emotional and mental disorders, but many of them do recover if they have the capacity to be honest. There's honest number 3. So it's pretty clear, like, honesty is kind of good. Everything on your 4th step, whatever let's just say that if it's not thorough, and you're missing one thing, good luck. You know, good luck. It's going to permeate your recovery, and you'll suffer. I won't suffer. If you've left something, if you're my sponsee and you've left something out, and your recovery is not as strong as it could be, I don't try to analyze everybody. I don't have to wonder if they were honest and thorough and whatever, but you leave something off. It's like, you know, how did that work for you? You know? So.
And I like that it says searching and fearless. Like, in order to recover, I need to be fearless in this, and working with a sponsor. It's such a safe place for me. to be able to be one-on-one with someone who has been through this work. And she shares her experience with me, and her sharing her experience with me helps me to get comfortable and helps me to not be afraid to put it all there. And I will say that as I did my inventory, I did it to the best of my ability. And then there were still things after I finished my work. I was like, oh yeah, I didn't even think about this one or this one. And those, sometimes things will pop up later on that I was like, oh, that should have been on my 4th step. Oh, well, that's why we have the 10th step. That's why we got that one, because we know that there will be things that pop up, and sometimes they'll be past things or sometimes they'll be present things. But really, it is to your benefit, and actually your life depends on it. My life depends on it. This is it's serious stuff for me. So it is super, super important, to be honest, with what I'm doing. Will my sponsor turn me into the police if I share something? I love these questions. Love it. Lulu, have you ever turned anybody in?
I've never turned anybody into the police. No.
Mm.
I think that if you're at this point in the recovery, in the process of recovery, and you're writing a 4th step, working on your 5th step, whatever, you're in there, you just decide the recovery that you want, and you'll go turn yourself into the police.
Yeah, absolutely. So it would be,
and you'll just, if somebody's done something against the law, like, go face it. There's a whole story in this big book, I forget exactly where, about that guy that he stood up in front of the congregation and told them he wasn't honest. Was it with money or something? There's a little story in here somewhere, in the first 164 pages, where I forget what page it is, but he was willing to pay all the money back, and he thought he was going to be shamed by the community, and he ended up, they admired him for his honesty, and they alleviated him from paying the money. But he was ready to do it. He was ready, and although I remember somebody saying, like, I think it's right in step 9 when it talks about harms done, and we talk about, like, they talk about an example of, like, the father that doesn't pay child support, and, like, should he turn himself in, and he'll end up in jail, and, like, how useful will he be to the wife and kids if he's in jail? Instead, he wants to clean it up, so he's going to just start paying, but he doesn't want to open it up and admit it, because he's afraid he'll go to jail. And it ends up, like somebody was going to turn him in or something, and it was just like to not do it because he was ready to start making things right, and he would have served no use in jail. So I don't know. There's just, I remember that's in step 9 somewhere, which we'll talk about another time. But
and I'm seeing, okay, so is the 10th step cleaning up the 4th step? So the 4th step is emotional cleanup of the past. 10th step is an emotional cleanup of the present, and anything else that rises to the surface. So basically, the 4th step is clean up my mind, clean up my actions, clean up my side of the street. And then the 10th step is the same thing. Like, it's like brush, since we're into brushing teeth today, it's like brushing your teeth and being like, well, what? I have to brush my teeth again? If you brush your teeth once, it only serves you the once. And you have to brush them and maintain them every single day, only the ones you want to keep, right? That's what they say about flossing. You only have to floss the teeth you want to keep.
Yeah.
It's the same. Like, you only have to do 10 steps if you want to keep your recovery. If you want to be happy, joyous, and free, you only have to do it if you want to stay free, or if you want to be free. So, the 4th step is cleaning up the past, and then 10th step is maintenance, and the 10th step encompasses steps 4 through 9. Mm-hmm. So it's all of those steps in between that. It's just like rinse and repeat. You could call it the cycle of recovery, just keeping in that. Just
to clarify on that, the 4th step is is not the actual cleanup, it's the information that we gathered to clean up. So the fourth step is gathering in the information. The fifth step is sharing that information with someone else, especially to get good feedback, right? And then the step 6 and 7 is, from this material that I've written, what are my character defects? They come right out in the writing in a little tidy little package, and it's like, there they are. That's what I do. And we look for the patterns. That's my step 6. My step 7 is when I pray for these things to be removed, for the opposite of these things to be invited into my life. And this is who I want to be now. I don't want these shortcomings now that I'm aware of them. And then step 8 and 9 is like, so now that I've written all this information on step 4 and I have all this information about myself, I've shared it with somebody else, and it was a little unpleasant, but it was worth it, because I keep getting clearer and clearer and clearer on who I am. And then I've seen my character defects and my shortcomings, my, wrongdoings, whatever. Now, as a result of all this, is there anybody that I've harmed? While I was busy being the lady yelling at the toothbrush, right? In that case, no, there wasn't anybody I harmed. I didn't harm a toothbrush, right? But I could resent my toothbrush, so I wouldn't find a harm. But we find where we've harmed people, and then we're willing to make amends to them. Then we have a whole amends process, which we'll do. So that's what 4 through 9 is. So when I do a step 10, I'm irritated right this minute. What am I irritated at? I'm not, but let's just say it was raining. I'm irritated that it's raining and it ruined my plans for the day. Okay, so there's the thing on my list. There's the cause, and it's affecting it's affecting my ambition of the day, my plans for the day. It just took over, made decisions for me, and I didn't like that, And then, how am I being selfish, self-seeking, dishonest, and afraid? I would answer those questions. I would find how unreasonable it is for me to be mad at the weather, and like, do I really want to spend my life like with the weather determining my happiness, when really only true happiness comes from a closer, more loving relationship with God, not whether the sun is out or not, or what the temperature is, And then it's like, so now I see my character defects again. I'm saying, here I am, just like trying to control. I'm blaming the weather on my bad day. I'm going to blame the weather, And then, do I owe an amends? Well, I wouldn't make an amends to the weather, but I maybe as a result of this, I was yelling at somebody else because I was so disappointed in the day. And that I might find where that might be my amends. Like, something, this is what I did. I was aggravated with the rain. I took it out on you, and I'm sorry, that was wrong. And then, well, that's step 10. That would be a step 10. I was going to go on and on, but we're on step 4. So, yeah.
Thank you so much. Yeah, beautiful clarification. That was perfect. Perfect. So we're at the top of the hour. Should we go ahead and close the meeting?
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for joining us for this Step It Up. And very shortly, you should be able to find this recording on, I'm not going to give you any promises as to when that will be. It will be up on the blog shortly, and also on our YouTube channel. So it's 12stepitup.blogspot.com, where you can also find our contact information if you have any further questions.